Welcome back, deep divers. You know we love getting into the nitty-gritty, the super specific details in our sources.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
And today, we have an absolute treasure trove to unpack.
I know. I was so excited when you set this one over.
We're going deep into Exodus 38, which really lays out the construction of some pretty significant elements from, well, biblical history.
It's like, wow, they really kept records. Very meticulous.
We're talking about the altar of burnt offering.
Yes.
The basin for washing, the courtyard, and material. Like, we get an itemized list.
That's amazing. Down to the tent pegs.
So yeah, our mission here is to extract those fascinating nuggets, those telling details, not just what they built, but how and with what.
Exactly. The how and the what. So important.
And of course, all of this is coming from this one detailed textual description.
Right. We're working with this incredible ancient blueprint.
Right. All right, let's start with what seems to be the heart of it all, the altar of burnt offering. So we're told it's 3 cubits high,
Okay.
5 cubits long.
Right. 5 cubits wide. And just to give everyone a visual, a cubit is about, elbow to fingertips.
Yeah, like forearm length, roughly.
So we're picturing a pretty substantial structure here, and it's square-shaped.
Yeah, definitely not a small little thing.
Not at all. It's made of acacia wood. What's your take on that choice of material?
Well, acacia wood, especially in that region, it's tough stuff, very durable. It can stand up to the elements. You think about the desert, the sun.
Makes sense, yeah.
So it makes you think about longevity, right? They intended this thing to last.
And it was a central element, so that makes sense.
Absolutely front and center.
Okay, now here's a detail that jumps out. Horns.
Ooh, yes.
4 corners, each one has a horn, and they're overlaid with bronze.
That's a powerful image.
It is. And it says these horns were integral, like part of the structure.
Not just decoration.
Right. What do you make of the horns, symbolically or practically?
Well, horns back then, ancient Near East, they often symbolize strength.
Oh, power, even divine authority. Like you see those images of gods and kings with horns.
Right, right.
Practically, maybe they were used to tie down, the animals for sacrifice. Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, like an anchor point.
And the bronze overlay.
Yeah, the bronze.
Bronze is tough stuff, hard to break. Plus, it makes them shiny.
Yeah, gotta have that visual impact. Okay, we're not done with the details yet. The text goes on to list all the utensils, all made of bronze, pots, shovels, bowls for sprinkling.
Bowls for sprinkling, wow.
Meat forks, fire pans, the whole set.
It's like a chef's kitchen almost.
Right, it's very specific. What does that say about the activities going on around this altar?
I mean, it's clear they were taking this whole process very seriously. This was a carefully orchestrated ritual. Each tool had a purpose.
Yeah.
And bronze, again, makes sense. It can take the heat, it's not going to melt or warp.
It's practical. Here's something I found intriguing. There's a bronze grating, like a mesh or a grid, halfway up inside the altar. Underneath, there's a ledge.
Oh, that's interesting, like an internal level.
Exactly. What purpose could that have served?
Okay, let me think. Well, airflow. For the fire to burn properly, you need air to circulate.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, so maybe the sacrifices were placed on that grating and air could come up from below.
So it would burn more completely. Makes sense.
And maybe, the space under the grating could collect ashes. So you keep the top clean for the next offering.
Yeah, very practical. Okay, we have to talk about how they moved this thing. Because it was big and bronze is heavy.
Right.
But they had these bronze rings and acacia wood poles also overlaid with bronze to carry it.
So they could disassemble it.
It seems like it, yeah. They were on the move back then.
Nomadic lifestyle. So, yeah, portable altar.
Exactly. Makes sense.
Acacia wood for lightness, bronze for strength. Smart combination.
Oh, yeah. Last point on the altar, it says it was hollow and made of boards, not solid.
That's interesting. They could have made it solid bronze, right?
Could have, yeah. But they didn't.
So why? Well, weight. A hollow structure is much lighter.
Much easier to transport.
Exactly. And the boards, they provide the structure, the shape. The bronze is just the outer layer.
Makes sense. Okay, let's move on to the basin for washing. Now, this one has a really unique detail. The bronze for this basin came from the mirrors of the women.
Whoa.
It says, the women who served at the entrance to the tent of meeting.
That's powerful.
It is. What strikes you about that?
Well, back then, mirrors were made of polished bronze. They were valuable personal items.
Not something you just give away.
Right. So for these women to donate their mirrors, It shows a deep commitment.
A real dedication.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, who are these women serving at the entrance?
Right, what was their role? It definitely adds a whole layer.
Definitely. It's like a glimpse into their lives, their beliefs.
Yeah. The text also mentions a bronze stand for the basin. So again, bronze for this element of ritual cleansing.
Consistent.
Okay, now let's zoom out and picture the courtyard. This thing is huge. 100 cubits long on the south and north sides, 50 cubits wide on the other two sides.
That's a massive space.
It is. What does that say about its purpose?
Well, communal gatherings, maybe ceremonies, a lot of people could fit in there.
Oh, yeah, and maybe as a sort of buffer zone around the tabernacle.
A separation between the sacred and the, I guess, less sacred.
Yeah, interesting. So this huge courtyard was enclosed by curtains. And these weren't just any curtains, they were made of finely twisted linen.
It shows they were putting a lot of effort into defining this space.
Making it special.
Exactly.
Now these curtains, they were supported by a framework of posts and bases. 20 posts, 20 bronze bases on the long sides.
Okay.
10 posts, 10 bases on the shorter west side.
A sturdy structure.
Yeah, it sounds pretty solid.
You'd need that, especially outdoors. Wind, the elements.
Right. But then they added some bling. We see this a lot, this combination of like the ordinary and the precious.
Yeah, the fancy touches.
So they had silver hooks and bands on the posts and silver overlay on the tops of the posts.
Silver, huh? Interesting choice.
Why do you think they added the silver?
Well, silver's valuable. It definitely adds a visual element, makes it look fancier, more important.
Right, it elevates it.
And symbolically, silver often represents purity, maybe even something like holiness.
So it reinforces the sacred nature of the courtyard.
Exactly. Little details, big meaning.
Okay, the east entrance to the courtyard gets a bit more description. It was 50 cubits wide.
Whoa, that's big.
Big entrance, yeah, with 15 cubit curtains on each side. And those were supported by 3 posts and 3 bases each.
Okay, so a grand entrance. Makes sense, it's the main way in.
Yeah, they're really emphasizing this entry point.
The 15-cubit curtains create a wide opening. Like, come on in, everyone's welcome.
Yeah, this is the place to be. And they reiterate that all the courtyard curtains are that finely twisted linen.
Consistent, I like it.
Yeah, and all the bases are bronze. And they remind us about the silver hooks, the bands, and the silver overlay on the tops of the posts.
It's like they're making sure we get it. This is important, folks. Pay attention.
Exactly, and they really did stick to that consistent design throughout.
It shows a clear vision, a plan.
Yep.
And it would have created a sense of harmony, visual coherence.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, now we have to talk about the courtyard entrance curtain. This one is special.
Ooh, okay.
So it's made of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn.
Those are some rich colors.
Oh, yeah, and it also has the finely twisted linen.
Wow, fancy.
And it says this curtain was the work of an embroiderer.
So not just woven, but embroidered. That's skilled labor.
It is. They're really highlighting the craftsmanship.
This was meant to be a showstopper.
Totally. What about those colors? Blue, purple, scarlet. What do they bring to mind?
Well, dyed yarn, those colors, they would have been expensive, difficult to produce.
And probably held symbolic meaning.
Oh, absolutely. Purple, royalty. Blue, often associated with the divine. Scarlet, power, maybe sacrifice.
So a very deliberate choice of colors.
Very deliberate, marking this entrance as something special.
Yeah. Okay, dimensions. 20 cubits long, 5 cubits high.
Same height as the courtyard curtains.
Exactly. It was supported by 4 posts and 4 bronze bases, you guessed it, silver hooks, bands, and silver overlay on the tops.
They're sticking to their theme.
They are. It's like the courtyard walls, but elevated.
Enhanced. It's like the VIP entrance,
Totally. Okay, last detail on the structure. It's a small one, but important. All the tent pegs for both the tabernacle and the courtyard were made of bronze.
10 pegs. Seems minor.
It does, but think about it. Those pegs are what hold everything down.
True. Got to keep it stable, especially in the desert.
Exactly. Wind, storms, you need those things to hold. Bronze is much more durable than wood.
Yeah, those pegs are going to last. They thought of everything.
They did. Okay, let's get into the materials accounting, because this is where it gets really interesting. The text is very specific about the amounts of each material, and it says, these records were kept under Moses' direction.
Okay.
And the Levites, specifically those under Ithamar, were in charge of this record keeping.
They were organized.
Very organized. What does that tell us about how this whole project was managed?
Well, clearly, they were taking this very seriously. It was a communal effort, and they wanted to be accountable, transparent about the resources.
Right. Makes sense. Then we're introduced to two key figures. Basil from the tribe of Judah.
Okay.
He's the chief artisan.
The mastermind.
Yeah, and then there's Oholiab from the tribe of Dan. He's the skilled assistant.
The right-hand man.
Says he was an engraver, designer, and embroiderer, so multi-talented.
Yeah, jack of all trades.
It's interesting they mention their names and their tribes.
It's like giving them credit. These were respected members of the community. They were entrusted with this sacred task.
Yeah, it's honoring their skill and their dedication.
And their specific skills, they're showing us how much talent went into this.
Okay, gold. For all the sanctuary work, they used 29 talents and 730 shekels of gold. And it specifies the sanctuary shekel.
That's a lot of gold.
It is. What does that tell you about the importance they placed on this sanctuary?
I mean, gold was valuable then, even more so than now. It was a symbol of purity, of the divine. So using this much gold, they're really showing how sacred this space is.
And the sanctuary shekel, that was a specific weight, a standard. So it was about accuracy, fairness.
No one's getting cheated.
Right. They were meticulous about this. Okay, next up, silver. They used 100 talents and 1,775 shekels of silver, also measured in the sanctuary shekel.
100 talents, that's massive.
It is, but here's the kicker. This silver came from every man 20 years old or older. Each one gave half a shekel, which is a beka.
Wow, community effort.
Totally. And it says there were 603,550 men. That's how many contributed.
That's how you get to 100 talents.
That's how you get to 100 talents of silver. It's amazing. So they tell us exactly what the silver was used for. 100 talents, 1 talent for each base, were used for the bases for this sanctuary and the curtain.
Okay.
And then the remaining 1,775 shekels, that was for the hooks, the overlay on top of the posts, and the bands for the posts.
They're really specific.
Very specific. They're not wasting anything.
No waste. Everything's accounted for.
Exactly. Okay, last but not least, bronze.
Bronze is always there.
It is. So they used 70 talents and 2,400 shekels of bronze from the wave offering.
Another massive amount.
And this one was used for a lot of things. The bases at the entrance of the tent of meeting.
Okay.
The bronze altar, the grating, the utensils for the altar, the bases for the courtyard, the entrance to the courtyard, and all those tent pegs.
Workhorse metal.
It really was.
Yeah.
Bronze was the backbone. It's incredible to think about the sheer quantity of materials they used.
It was a huge project, a massive undertaking.
And they kept track of everything.
Every shekel, every talent.
It gives us such a tangible connection to them, to their world.
It's like we're right there with them, building it all.
I know, it's incredible. Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive into Exodus 38.
I'm going to miss these details.
I know, me too. But we really got a sense of, the materials, the craftsmanship, the specifics of the altar, the basin, the courtyard, even the tent pegs.
Everything was so carefully planned, executed, nothing was left to chance.
Exactly. This was not just like, oh, let's throw some stuff together. This was a major project.
Absolutely. And what I find so fascinating is how these details, the numbers, the materials, they tell us so much about their society, their priorities.
It goes beyond the practical.
Oh yeah, it's about their beliefs, their values,
Yeah.
what they held sacred.
And that brings us to our final thought for you, our listeners. As you reflect on this episode, think about the specific materials.
Acacia wood, those bronze mirrors, the silver, the gold.
All coming from different sources. And the level of detail, that meticulous record keeping, what does that tell you about their values? What was important to them?
And what questions does this raise for you? What else do you want to know about this ancient project?
It's a lot to ponder. Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive. Until next time.
Happy pondering, everyone.